You were about 4 years in the industry. You were really getting tired of the scene, questioning what the future would look like for you. And you go across the street from where you were living and you go into the bank. And something so we might think insignificant happened to you that would change your mindset and change your life. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I always would put my check into the ATM or the drop box because there's a memo on the check that says what the check is for. So I didn't want to face that shame because I was humiliated. So that's the way I would normally deposit checks. This day, neither the ATM or the drop box was an option, so I had to face the teller. And it was a normal transaction and deposited normal hellos. And then I go to leave. And as I go to leave, it said, Joshua, can I help you? Joshua, is there anything I can do for you? And what was odd about that is that I was leaving. The transaction had already transpired. If it was the initial part of the conversation, it would have made sense. But what she didn't know is that I hadn't heard my real name in over a year. Because of that isolation and shame, I had stopped talking to my family. I had stopped talking to my friends. I had unfriended everyone that I actually knew and had an authentic relationship with from social media. So when she spoke my name, it shattered this reality that I had created. And I just felt every bit of the pain that I was trying to just push down deep into my soul.
But that experience was the catalyst to you walking away from the industry. In fact, you spoke to the director, you said, I quit, I'm done. You sold everything you owned for the most part, or gave it away, and you moved back to the hometown where your mom lived.
Yeah, I ran home to mom.
You ran home to mom, which is a great place to run. Which you hadn't done in a while because of the shame that you mentioned. But you talk about this new season that you entered into. A lot of people would think, well, this is great. You know, Josh has seen the light. It's all, unicorns and rainbows from this point on. But this actually started a very dark season in your life. Why was that?
Yeah, because I think often when you're in the middle of a dark time, you wear a mask and you don't really lean into the pain. You don't even really, you just try to mask your emotion, mask your feelings. And the way I masked that is I made a tremendous amount of money, and I received a lot of affirmation. I traveled the world. So all these things would somewhat justify what I was doing. So if we remove all of those things and all of a sudden I'm working in a grocery store and I'm working at a gym, I'm working 2 jobs just to pay for the taxes on the year prior, all of a sudden that pain feels a lot more real. And all I have left is that shame and those memories and those nightmares.
But then there was hope. Tell us about her. Tell us what was so special about meeting this young lady named Hope.
Yeah, so I was working at a gym at the time, and she walks in and I ask her, I'm like, hey, can I put your equipment away? She just finished, and she was like, no, I can do it myself. I was like, man, I'm in love with this girl. And then I asked her out on a date and she said, no, maybe we can go for a run. And I was like, I don't like running, but okay. And then we go on this run, but leading up to that run, I had spent 2 years lying to people, trying to cover up my past. When I got out of the industry, I covered up my tattoos. I deleted my social media. I did everything I could to cover up that person that I was so ashamed of. But people kept finding out. I was the most popular adult film star in the world, if not the most, like top 10 in the world. So that content was everywhere. I couldn't run from it. People kept finding out. So we go on this run, and I tell her, I'm like, hey, I need to tell you about my past, and I know that you're probably not going to want anything to do with me. And she said, well, a person is not defined by the worst thing they've ever done, and they're not defined by the best thing they'll ever do. That doesn't define you. And she asked me if I knew who God was. And then she asked me if I had a relationship with God. And she literally ushered me into the presence of having this healthy skepticism to know in a personal way this God that I knew about, but I'd never had a real experience with.
So Hope takes you to church, you hear a message, but there was a journey of healing that you had to go through. And tell us about how you found that healing and that freedom in this new relationship with Hope. I mean, I know you faced the fear of rejection, and yet with full disclosure, she embraced you, and you guys continued to walk in relationship together. In fact, you've become married. But I want to hear about your journey towards freedom, because someone is watching today, Josh. Maybe they're even someone in the adult film industry, and they're feeling trapped. You know, they've been sucked in by the lure of the money and the fame and all the success, and yet they're hurting, they're dying on the inside. They may be dealing with addiction, and they may be living life recklessly. They may be believing the lie that the only thing they have to offer is selling sex. And maybe you can talk to that person today out of your own experience.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that you're searching for in life is to be loved. And what you want as you stay in that industry, you ultimately you accept this counterfeit version of what your life could be. Because no one in that industry, regardless of how much money they have or whatever fame they obtain, when you lay your head down on the pillow, you're ashamed. And what I experienced was a real encounter with the person of Jesus. He loved me so much. He saw me in the middle of where I was, and then he met me where I was at. And knowing that he loves me so much that he was willing to sacrifice everything and die so that I can experience life. It's just something I want everyone to have. So that person out there, you believe that your past defined you. It doesn't. Today, you can change how you're living your life. Today, you can decide you are worth doing something better. Your life is designed. You have gifts and talents and abilities that you are passionate about, but you have suppressed because you believe that the world doesn't need you. But God says it needs you so much that he was willing to die so that you could live.
What gets Joshua Broom out of the bed these days? What are you passionate
Three
about?
boys, three baby
Whether
boys.
you want
Yeah,
to or
we
not,
have.
right?
Yeah, 5 a.m. Daddy.
I love it.
Yeah, we are the proud parents of three beautiful boys. We have a 3-year-old, an 18-month-old, and a 5-week-old. Little baby Judah was
Wow.
born about a month ago. And man, I just get excited every day because I get to do what I never thought possible. I get to share my experiences with others. I get to preach the gospel all over the world. And man, I never thought that my life would amount to anything because of the decisions that I made. But God saw me and met me where I was, and he radically changed everything that I thought that was true. There was absolutely a lot of rebuilding and destructing and destroying of the way that I saw myself and the way that I saw people. And that caused me to appropriate myself differently in the world. And man, that's just what I want people to know. Regardless of what you've done, it doesn't have to determine what you do next.